State of the Union fallout. A lot of reaction coming today after Joe Biden's 62-minute address last night. To me, with even more time to reflect upon it. Now, obviously, you can go watch my immediate reaction, which was up here on Outkick the show yesterday evening as soon as Joe Biden finished his address a little bit after 10 o'clock Eastern. I can't get over the outrageous hypocrisy in Joe Biden walking outdoors on the White House grounds Monday, wearing his big black mask all over the White House grounds, nobody around him outdoors, to Tuesday on the House floor, absolutely no masks basically to be seen on anyone, including Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, two nearly 80-year-old or past 80-year-old individuals who are certainly at the highest risk from COVID, basically of anyone. And Nancy Pelosi and her strange reactions behind Joe Biden. Joe Biden not wearing a mask for the first time in public in like 2 years and doing strange headbutting going on. But how in the world can Democrats argue they're the party of science when on Monday, Joe Biden outdoors is walking around wearing a big mask, and on Tuesday, suddenly the science allows him not to be wearing a mask anymore? If you have a functional brain and you are voting for Democratic politicians, I don't even care about any other policy, anything other than COVID. To me, 2022 is a referendum on COVID failures. And if you look at Joe Biden, he is running rapidly away from the left wing of his party. That was the subtext, basically, of his entire State of the Union address. He didn't mention January 6th once. He tried to argue that COVID isn't a partisan issue, despite the fact that he told you if you didn't get the COVID vaccine, you were going to be fired. And thankfully, the Supreme Court helped out at least part of the 84 million people that would have been covered there. He tried to argue that we were going to have a winter of death. By the way, we're still in the winter of death. Managed to survive so far. We haven't had the winter of death called off. He said there was a pandemic of the unvaccinated, not of the vaccinated. That was a lie. All of this, he created the division, and now he tries to say COVID isn't a partisan issue. And I just want to point this out. Where is Dr. Fauci? Where is the tiny smurf of COVID supremacy who has been running around for 2 years doing every single media outlet on the planet, except for, by the way, the Clay and Buck show, which he hasn't been willing to do? Where is he? He's not doing media all of a sudden. He's having no interaction whatsoever as the CDC abandons its mask rule, as California, Washington, and Oregon do, as Hawaii does, as New York State and New York City do. Where is that tiny authoritarian smurf who has been trying to get all of us to give up our basic constitutional rights and freedoms for 2 years now? I don't know. And if Joe Biden is going to do a pandemic fraud investigation, I hope the first person that is being interviewed is Dr. Fauci. A couple of other things that stood out to me. Joe Biden said that he no longer supports defund the police. And to be fair, I think he always said that defund the police didn't make sense, but his party still supports defund the police. So why won't he just say they were wrong? The violent rates of crime that have occurred since the George Floyd incident in 2020 have demonstrated that defund the police is the single dumbest argument that has ever been made in probably American modern history, certainly in the 21st century. We had Lauren Boebert on, Congresswoman, who called out and pointed out that Biden didn't have the time to mention the 13 servicemen who died in Afghanistan. You can go listen to her. We also had Dr. Oz on the Clay and Buck show. I would encourage you to check all of that out. But the biggest takeaway to me is that Biden is trying to run towards the middle part of the country and abandon the left wing of his country as his approval rate has fallen somewhere to the neighborhood of 35 or 37%. And he recognizes that he is headed for, about 8 months from now, an unmitigated disaster in the midterms, and he's trying to figure out how to get back to normalcy.